This is our 6th class in our theme, Very Important Truths. Very important truths. Last week we did Beware of Lions. Today we are looking at speaking and walking against God's man. Speaking and walking against God's man. Now these are very important truths because there are things that we don't give attention to, but they are very, very important. When we started with name, trying to understand the importance of a good name, why we need to work for a good name and maintain a good name. And we saw that it's not a gift, you earn it. You can't beat it out of somebody, you can't buy it with money, you earn it. And your character and your achievements give you a name. That was where we started from. We have talked about relationship, the need for forgiveness, and all the other aspects. And today we are now looking at speaking and walking against God's man. By God's man, I mean the pastor, the overseer, the church leader. Introduction. Now, God uses men and women for his different purposes. God has delegated many of the needs of his people to different ministries. He knows are paramount. That the ministries that he knows that are very important. One such need that God knows is important is to have a shepherd. A local assembly of believers. That man is called a pastor or overseer. So he knows that it is very important. Without a defined leader, there will be disorder in the church. Without a defined leader that God can hold responsible, then anything goes. The church will be disorganized and things will not work well. So God has appointed and given some people this responsibility of leading or overseeing the church. So, and they are supposed to do their work in the fear of the Lord. They are supposed to do their work. The church is built and established. There is order. The people are fed, well fed with the word. And they grow strong in the spirit. Maybe because of jealousy that they are not called to the position of pastoring. Maybe knowing they are not scripturally qualified for such a role of leadership. Perhaps because they do not agree with how he is performing his ministry, or just having the belief they can do a better job than their pastor. Many talk against and about their man of God for reasons best known to them. What a dangerous mistake they make when they do so. It's a dangerous mistake in the sense they do not realize that when they do that, they are pitching their tent against God. They are fighting God. They are taking a stand against God And they will pay a price for that. Whatever be the reason, whether it's because they were not choosing, whether it's because they don't understand, whether it's because they don't agree with him or his style, whatever be the reason, it's a dangerous mistake. And that's what we want to study. We want to look at it from the scriptures and see why it's a dangerous mistake. So all throughout the Bible, there are examples of how God dealt with those that rose up and spoke against God's man. So the Bible has records, and the Bible told us that all these things recorded are there for us to learn from. So I repeat, all throughout the Bible, there are examples that we can draw lessons from of how God dealt with those that rose up and spoke against God's man. Such as, 1, when Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses, Miriam was plagued with leprosy. Numbers chapter 12. And we're going to read from verse 1 to 12. Now Miriam and Aaron began to talk against Moses because of his Cushite wife, for he had married a Cushite. Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? They asked. Hasn't he also spoken through us? And the Lord heard this. Now Moses didn't report to the Lord, but the Lord heard what they were saying. Verse 4. Verse 3. Now Moses was a very humble man, more humble than anyone else on the face of the earth. At once the Lord said to Moses, Aaron and Miriam, come out to the tent of meeting, all three of you. So the three of them came out. Then the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud. He stood at the entrance to the tent and summoned Aaron and Miriam. When both of them stepped forward, he said, listen to my words. When a prophet of the Lord is among you, I reveal myself to him in visions. I speak to him in dreams. Now, but this is not true of my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. With him I speak face to face clearly and not in riddles. He sees the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? The anger of the Lord burned against them, and he left them. When the cloud lifted from above the tent, there stood Miriam, leprous, like snow. Aaron turned toward her and saw that she had leprosy. And he said to Moses, please, my Lord, do not hold against us the sin we have so foolishly committed. Do not let her be like a stillborn infant coming from his mother's womb, with his flesh half eaten away. Now, this is a vivid account of how God reacted when these two fellows rose against Moses. The Bible told us that all these things, records we have in the Bible, the stories and the different accounts of various things that we have in the Bible, they are there for us to learn from, so we don't make the same mistakes that they made. So we will know how God reacts when we do certain things. When we walk in obedience or when we walk in disobedience, how God reacts. So when you find yourself under the circumstance, how do you behave? So based on the stories and the accounts, we can tell how God feels and how God shows his pleasure or displeasure. So in this case, it became very clear that God does not take it lightly when you challenge his servant, when you question his wisdom in doing what he did, in appointing a man. Now, please bear in mind that Miriam and Aaron are from the same family. The same parents with Moses. And Moses is the youngest. Hello. But God chose the youngest to be the leader of Israel. And that puts these older ones under his authority. Now, it's not that if you have questions, you can ask questions. It's not that if you have an area where you're not clear about, you cannot ask questions. That's why in our Bible teaching, this workers' Bible training, we said, where you don't, in followership, where you don't understand, you do what? You ask questions. But you should not arrogantly confront your leader. They confronted Moses in an arrogant way. If they have come to Moses and said, my brother, we don't understand. I thought Israel is supposed to marry from Israel. How come now you went to marry a Cushite? Is God not giving us permission to marry a Cushite? You see, that's a different scenario. Same subject, but different way of presenting it. How many of you understand what I'm talking about? But how did they start? Please go back to the verse again. How did they start? Are you the only one God speaks to? That's how they started. Where are you now? The next verse. Say, has the Lord spoken only through Moses? They asked. Hasn't he also spoken through us? We too, we hear God. God talks through us. Are you the only one God talks to? That's how they started. And the Bible says, and the Lord heard this. Now God now came down to explain how he communicates with this man and how he communicates with others. So God began to explain, if there is a prophet, I talk to the prophet by dreams, by visions. But the man Moses is not the same. I talk to him face to face like a man would talk to his friend. He said, this man sees the form of God. And this man is faithful in all my house. That means I have not seen anything wrong with him. Were you not afraid to talk to my servant? Mark the word. My servant. He's my servant, not your servant. If I have problem with him, I should be the one to scold him. I should be the one to caution him. I should be the one to correct him. I cannot come to your employer and start to rebuke your employer when I'm not the employer. How many of you understand what I'm talking about? So because there are some people who believe that the man of God should be spoken to, man of God should be corrected. I'm not against that. But it depends on how you are presenting it. Number 2. When the people of Israel spoke against God and Moses, God reacted by sending fiery serpents to chastise them for their sin. Now please take note of this example so that you can learn and know how God reacts when you gang up or speak up or walk against God's man. So you don't, that's why it's a dangerous thing to do. Numbers 21 verse 5 to 7. Now they spoke against God and against Moses and said, why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the desert? There is no bread, there is no water. We detest this miserable food. Then the Lord sent venomous serpents, venomous snakes among them. They beat the people and many Israelites died. Every morning manna will fall and they will collect. You know what they called it? Miserable food. In another portion of scripture, they call it worthless manna. They open their mouth to call it worthless manna. If you are the one providing for them, what will you do? Here I am providing for you. You don't labor for it. You only wake up in the morning and gather the bread. And you use it to make 3. When Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, and over 250 others, all of them from the Levitical family, spoke against Moses and Aaron. In Numbers 16, from verse 1 to 35, God allowed the earth to swallow Korah and the others. Swallow them up. Now, it's important you understand these things that we're reading, so you will know how God reacts when we do the wrong thing. And so, people are suffering. People can be in a church, rather than progress, they retrogress. Rather than prosper, they suffer frustration. Why? Because they speak against God's man. They rise against their pastor, walk against their pastor. You don't make progress that way. You get punishment in return. It's important you understand this. That's why I'm giving you all these examples, both from the Old down, so that you can see up to, New Testament. So you will understand how God responds. Now, look at the story. Numbers 16, 1 to 35. I'm waiting. Now Korah, son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and certain Reubenites, Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab, and On, son of Pelet, became insolent, and rose up against Moses. With them were 250 Israelite men, well-known community leaders, who had been appointed members of the council. They came as a group to oppose Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You have gone too far." The whole community is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is with them. Why then do you set yourselves above the Lord's assembly? When Moses heard this, he fell face down. Then he said to Korah and all his followers, "In the morning the Lord will show who belongs to him and who is holy. And he will have the person come near him. The man he chooses he will cause to come near him. You, Korah, and all your followers are to do this. Take censers and tomorrow put burning coals and incense in them before the Lord. The man the Lord chooses will be the one who is holy. You Levites have gone too far." Moses also said to Korah, Now listen, you Levites, isn't it enough for you that the God of Israel has separated you from the rest of the Israelite community and brought you near himself to do the work at the Lord's tabernacle and to stand before the community and minister to them? He has brought you and all your fellow Levites near himself, but now you are trying to get the priesthood too? It is against the Lord that you and all your followers have banded together. It's important to understand that. It's against the Lord, not against me and Aaron, my brother. It's against the Lord that you and all your followers have banded together. Who is Aaron that you should grumble against him? And then Moses summoned Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, but they said, "We will not come. Isn't it enough that you have brought us up out of a land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness? And now you also want to lord it over us? Moreover, you haven't brought us into a land flowing with milk and honey, or given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Do you want to treat these men like slaves? No, we will not come." Then Moses became very angry and said to the Lord, "Do not accept their offering. I have not taken so much as a donkey from them, nor have I wronged any of them." Moses said to Korah, "You and all your followers are to appear before the Lord tomorrow. You and they and Aaron. Each man is to take his censer and put incense in it, 250 censers in all, and present it before the Lord. You and Aaron are to present your censers also." So each of them took his censer, put burning coals and incense in it, and stood with Moses and Aaron at the entrance of the tent of meeting. When Korah had gathered all his followers in opposition to them, at the entrance to the tent of meeting, the glory of the Lord appeared to the entire assembly. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Separate yourselves from this assembly so I can put an end to them at once." But Moses and Aaron fell face down and cried out, "O God, the God who gives breath to all living things, Will you be angry with the entire assembly when only one man sins? Then the Lord said to Moses, said to the assembly, move away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Moses got up and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. He warned the assembly, move back from the tents of these wicked men. Do not touch anything belonging to them, or you will be swept away because of all their sins. So they moved away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Dathan and Abiram had come out and were standing with their wives, children, and little ones at the entrance to their tents. Then Moses said, this is how you will know that the Lord has sent me to do all these things, and that it was not my idea. If these men die a natural death and suffer the fate of all mankind, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord brings about something totally new, and the earth opens its mouth and swallows them with everything that belongs to them, and they go down alive into the realm of the dead, then you will know that these men have treated the Lord with contempt. As soon as he finished saying all this, the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them, and their households, and all those associated with Korah, together with their possessions. They went down alive into the realm of the dead. With everything they owned, the earth closed over them, and they perished and were gone from the community. At their cries, all the Israelites around